I meet a lot of men in my office who look me straight in the eye and say, "Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore. I'm slowing down, I'm tired by noon, and things just don't work the way they used to." And I can see the frustration in their faces. These are men who've spent a lifetime working hard, taking care of their families, building careers, and now, right when they want to enjoy life, they feel like their body is letting them down. One of those men was Richard, a 67-year-old retired engineer who came to see me last spring. Richard was the kind of guy who used to get up before sunrise, fix the fence before breakfast, mow the lawn before lunch, and still have the energy to go for an evening walk with his wife. But over the past few years, his days had started feeling shorter, not because the sun set earlier, but because his energy seemed to vanish by early afternoon. He told me, "I've tried coffee, energy drinks, vitamins, you name it, but I'm still worn out. And in the evenings, I'm just too tired for, well, intimacy." Now, when I hear that, my mind doesn't just go to one thing. As a men's health specialist for over 30 years, I've learned that energy, performance, and vitality are all connected. When one is off, the others usually follow. And for men over 60, there's often a way to address all three at the same time, without relying on pills that only mask the problem. That's exactly what we're talking about today. Men 60 plus, 3 power nuts for energy, performance, and vitality. Before we dive in, let me just say this is not about fad diets or expensive supplements. This is about simple, natural, nutrient-packed foods that have been shown to support blood flow, testosterone levels, and sustained energy. And the best part? You can find them in any grocery store, enjoy them as snacks, or add them to meals without changing your whole lifestyle. By the end of this series, you'll know exactly how to work them into your daily routine so you can feel stronger, last longer, and get back to living the way you want. Speaking of which, if you're already nodding along because you've noticed your energy slipping, your performance dipping, or your vitality just isn't what it used to be, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the little bell so you don't miss any future advice. And leave me a quick yes or no in the comments to let me know if this is something you've been experiencing. I actually read those answers, and they help me shape the topics we cover so I can give you exactly what you need. When Richard came to see me, we started by talking about his daily habits. He was eating 3 meals a day, but his breakfast was usually a piece of toast with butter and coffee. Lunch was a sandwich with deli meat. Dinner was something like pasta or meat and potatoes. Nothing terrible, but nothing that really fed his body the nutrients it was craving. And now here's the thing most men don't realize. After 60, your body processes nutrients differently. You don't bounce back as quickly from nutrient gaps, and the foods you ate in your 30s and 40s to keep going might not be enough anymore. That's when fatigue creeps in. That's when performance, both physical and intimate, starts to decline. Richard had fallen into that trap. He thought because he wasn't eating junk food every day, he was doing fine. But he was missing key nutrients that could help his heart pump stronger, his blood flow more freely, and his energy last longer. And that's where the first of these 3 power nuts came in. The first one I introduced to Richard was something he hadn't eaten in years: walnuts. Not roasted, salted, candy-coated walnuts, just plain, raw walnuts. These little guys are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which support cardiovascular health and improve circulation. Why does that matter for men over 60? Well, better circulation means more oxygen and nutrients delivered to your muscles and organs, including the ones that help with performance. It also helps lower inflammation, which can make you feel lighter, less achy, and more energetic throughout the day. I told Richard, think of walnuts like nature's way of giving your heart a tune-up. And he laughed, but he got the point. A healthy heart is the foundation for lasting vitality. Without that, all the supplements in the world won't make you feel like yourself again. The great thing about walnuts is how easy they are to work into your life. You can have a handful as a mid-morning snack, toss them into oatmeal, sprinkle them over a salad, or even blend them into a smoothie. Richard started keeping a small jar of them on the kitchen counter, and within 2 weeks, he noticed he didn't crash so hard in the afternoons. That was just the beginning. but it was enough to make him believe he could turn things around. But energy isn't just about what fuels your body. It's about what protects it. That's where the second power nut comes in, and we'll get into that in a moment. Before we do, I want you to think about this. How many days in the past month have you truly felt at your best, clear-headed, energetic, and ready for anything? If that number is less than you'd like, it's not your age that's the problem. It's your nutrition, your habits, and your body's changing needs. And the good news is, you can fix that. When I work with men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, the biggest aha moment is realizing that they're not powerless. You don't have to accept that slowing down is just part of getting older. Yes, your body changes, but you can give it what it needs to thrive at any age. That's why I love talking about these power nuts. They're such a small change, but the impact can be huge. Richard wasn't a health nut. He didn't suddenly start running marathons or eating kale salads every day. He just added a few specific nutrient-rich foods into his regular routine. And what happened next was nothing short of inspiring. His energy came back. His wife told me she noticed a difference in his mood and his confidence. And yes, his performance in the bedroom improved too. And let me tell you, when a man in his late 60s starts feeling like he did in his 40s, you can see it in his posture, his smile, the way he walks into a room. That's what I want for you. Not just more years, but better years. We're just getting started, but already you can see how something as simple as the right kind of nut can start to change the way you feel. Richard's story is proof that you don't have to overhaul your whole life to see real results. You just have to give your body the tools it's been missing. Now, let's keep going and talk about the next nut on our list, because this one brings something special to the table that every man over 60 should know about. When I told Richard about the second nut, he gave me a skeptical look. He said, "Doc, I've never liked those things. I tried them once when I was a kid and thought they tasted like cardboard." I smiled because I knew exactly what he meant. Most people have had a bad experience with them if they've only tried the pre-salted, over-processed version. But when you eat them fresh and raw, the flavor is completely different, and so are the benefits. I'm talking about almonds. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, "Almonds? Really?" let me tell you why these are not just another snack. Almonds are one of the best natural sources of magnesium, and magnesium plays a huge role in how your body produces energy. Without enough magnesium, your muscles tire more quickly, your nerves don't fire as efficiently, and your metabolism slows down. And here's something a lot of men over 60 don't realize. Magnesium also supports testosterone production. That means almonds can help with more than just feeling energetic. They can actually contribute to better performance both in your daily activities and in more intimate moments. Magnesium also helps regulate blood sugar levels, which is crucial for preventing that mid-afternoon crash that leaves you reaching for coffee or something sweet. When Richard started eating almonds, I didn't tell him to replace a meal or give up his favorite foods. I simply suggested he swap out the cookies or crackers he sometimes had with his afternoon tea for a small handful of raw almonds. It was an easy change, and because almonds are also rich in protein and healthy fats, he found that they kept him satisfied longer. That meant he wasn't snacking mindlessly in the evenings, which also helped him manage his weight, a bonus he hadn't expected. Within a month, he told me something that made me smile. He said, "Doc, I didn't think food could do this, but I feel sharper in the mornings. My concentration is better, and I'm not dragging myself through the day anymore." That's the beauty of eating foods that work with your body instead of against it. They don't just give you a short-term boost, they help you sustain energy naturally. I also told Richard that almonds are great for heart health, just like walnuts. They help improve cholesterol levels, and a healthy heart means better blood flow everywhere. I don't have to explain what everywhere means. Most men already understand the connection. But it's worth saying that for men over 60, improved circulation isn't just about intimacy. It's about brain health, joint health, and overall mobility. When your blood is moving well, your body works better in every way. One of the things I've learned in my decades of working with men's health is that small, consistent habits beat dramatic, short-lived changes every time. You could go on a strict diet for 3 weeks and then go right back to your old ways, or you could make 1 or 2 permanent changes and keep them for years. Guess which one actually changes your health? It's the small, sustainable changes. That's why I encourage men to think of foods like almonds not as health food, but as part of their daily routine, like brushing their teeth or putting on socks, something you just do without overthinking it, because you know it's helping you stay strong and capable. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, well, I already eat almonds sometimes, ask yourself how often sometimes really is. Is it once every few weeks? Once in a blue moon when you happen to see them at a party? Or is it a habit, something you do 3, 4, 5 times a week? Because the benefits come from consistency. If what I'm saying makes sense so far, and you're starting to realize how much power you have to influence your own health just through small food choices, give this video a thumbs up. It helps me know you're getting value from what I share, and it also lets YouTube show this to other men who need the same advice. And while you're at it, type yes in the comments if you think you could commit to adding one of these power nuts into your daily routine. I do read your comments and I use them to decide what topics to cover next, so you get advice that truly matters to you. Now, Richard's story kept getting better. With walnuts in his mornings and almonds in his afternoons, he was already noticing changes. But there was still one piece missing. He had the foundation for better circulation, more steady energy, and improved testosterone support, but I wanted to give him something that would take things to the next level. Something that would boost his nitric oxide levels naturally. Why nitric oxide? Because it's like nature's way of widening your blood vessels, allowing more blood to flow where it's needed. And for men over 60, that's not just important, it's critical. Without good nitric oxide production, you can have all the testosterone in the world, but it won't get delivered effectively to your muscles and organs. That's when you start to feel weak, sluggish, or as many men put it, like the engine just isn't firing on all cylinders. That's where the third nut comes in. This one's not as common in most kitchens, but once I explain its benefits, you might just make space for it in your pantry. In fact, when I told Richard about it, he'd never even bought it before, and now it's one of his favorite snacks. He started adding this nut into his diet just a few times a week at first, and what happened over the next 2 months surprised him even. His stamina during walks improved, his recovery time after yard work got shorter, and his wife told me she hadn't seen him this lively in years. And while I can't take credit for his renewed energy, it was his commitment to the changes that did it. But I can say that this third nut was a major turning point. It gave his body that extra edge it needed to not just function, but thrive. When you understand how each of these nuts plays a different role, one for circulation, one for energy production, and one for nitric oxide, you start to see the bigger picture. It's not about magic foods. It's about giving your body the tools it needs so it can do what it was designed to do, even well past 60. Richard went from being a man who felt like he was running on empty to someone who looked forward to his days again. And if there's one thing I want you to take from his story so far, it's that you are not at the mercy of age. You have more influence over your vitality than you may think, and sometimes the solution is as simple as what's in your snack bowl. Now, let's talk about this final nut, the one that completed the picture for Richard, and could very well do the same for you. When I finally revealed the third nut to Richard, he chuckled and said, "Talk, I've seen these before, but I thought they were just for fancy salads." That's a common reaction, because most men aren't used to thinking of pistachios as a health food. But let me tell you, these little green gems are one of the best-kept secrets for men's vitality after 60. Pistachios are rich in an amino acid called L-arginine. Now, I promised you I wouldn't drown you in medical jargon, so here's the simple version. L-arginine is a building block your body uses to produce nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is what helps relax and open up your blood vessels, improving circulation from head to toe. When circulation improves,
your muscles get more oxygen, your brain gets more fuel, and yes, your performance in the bedroom gets a natural boost. When you combine pistachios with walnuts and almonds, you're hitting 3 different support systems at once: heart health, energy production, and blood flow optimization. That's why I call them power nuts. They don't just work on one part of the puzzle, they work together to create a stronger, more resilient body. Richard had never bought pistachios before. I gave him 2 simple tips: buy them unsalted, and if possible, buy them in the shell. Why the shell? Because shelling them slows you down just enough to prevent overeating, and it turns snacking into a mindful habit rather than a mindless one. Plus, there's something satisfying about that little crack and pop as you open each one. He started having pistachios in the evening, usually while watching TV. Within a few weeks, he noticed he wasn't as restless at night. His sleep quality improved, which, by the way, is another indirect benefit of better circulation and stable energy levels. When you sleep well, your body repairs itself more effectively. That means you wake up with more energy, less stiffness, and a clearer mind. One afternoon, about 2 months after we started his Power Nut plan, Richard stopped by my office, not for an appointment, but just to say thank you. He told me he'd gone on a weekend fishing trip with some old friends. In the past, those trips wore him out. He'd need a day or 2 to recover. But this time, he came back energized. He carried gear up and down the dock, stood for hours casting his line, and still had enough pep to help clean up afterwards. He said, "Doc, I don't feel like I'm in my 30s again, but I do feel like myself again, and that's all I wanted." That's the magic moment for me, when a man realizes he's not chasing youth, he's reclaiming his vitality. Now, I know some of you might be wondering, can I just eat all 3 nuts at once and call it a day? You could, but here's what I suggest: spread them out. Have walnuts in the morning for that early circulation boost, almonds in the afternoon to keep your energy steady, and pistachios in the evening to keep blood flow strong and help you wind down without crashing. That way, your body is getting consistent support all day long. Another thing I told Richard, and I want to tell you too, is that while these nuts are powerful, they're not a free pass to ignore the rest of your health. They work best when combined with other good habits: staying hydrated, moving your body daily, and keeping processed sugar to a minimum. Think of the nuts as reinforcements for a solid foundation, not as magic bullets. Here's something else worth noting. These changes don't just help you feel better physically, they can also boost your confidence. And for a lot of men, confidence is the first thing to take a hit when energy and performance start slipping. When you start to feel better, you stand taller, you smile more, and you naturally become more engaged with the people and activities you love. That's a big part of why I'm so passionate about this topic. If any of this is resonating with you, go ahead and hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed with the bell icon turned on. And in the comments, tell me, do you already eat any of these nuts regularly? Just type yes if you do, no if you don't. I'll be reading your answers, and they'll help me create even more targeted advice for you. Richard's journey wasn't about becoming a different man, it was about getting back to being himself. The energy to finish his chores without feeling wiped out, the stamina to enjoy time with his friends without paying for it the next day, the ability to share intimacy with his wife without worrying about fatigue or performance. These are the things that matter most, and they're worth fighting for. Sometimes men tell me, "Doc, it's too late for me. I'm too far gone." I always remind them it's never too late to start giving your body what it needs. You might not see changes overnight, but if you give it time, consistency, and the right fuel, your body will respond. Even at 60, 70, or beyond, you can still make meaningful improvements. The combination of walnuts, almonds, and pistachios might seem simple, but I've seen it work again and again. I've seen men regain their energy, improve their circulation, and lift their confidence, all by making this one small change to their daily diet. And when you add in those other habits, movement, hydration, better sleep, you multiply the benefits. Richard's story is proof of that. He didn't join a gym, he didn't go on some extreme diet, he just made small, sustainable changes, and his life feels different because of it. And that's what I want for you. Changes that you can stick with that give you back the freedom to live life on your own terms. Now, as we bring all this together, I want to share exactly how Richard and you can make this a lasting habit so these benefits don't fade away after a few weeks, but keep building for years to come.
Richard's success wasn't just about discovering 3 powerful foods. It was about making them part of his life in a way that felt natural and effortless. I've seen it time and again. The men who get lasting results aren't the ones who overhaul everything at once. They're the ones who take simple, manageable steps and repeat them consistently until they become as automatic as tying their shoes.